Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, NerdMode, and I'm going to be doing the next episode of Battlefield News, a video series where I'll be talking about changes and/or events within a particular Battlefield title. So without further ado, let's get started. So of course, starting things off on the summer patch, final testing release number 6. Now this did go into effect about 6 days ago, however this is primarily to the community test environment, considering that they're still working on a few things for the summer patch. Now, of course, we're going to be looking at a few specific release notes that were initiated into this overall patch. So, of course, starting things off on the Zavad Graveyard Shift update. They optimized some textures and objects on Zavad Graveyard Shift. So, of course, it looks like they were having some issues in the past, especially when it comes down to some of the objects and textures. However, it looks like they have optimized them, especially when it comes down to performance and overall the textures, so that they're not bugging out and having artifact issues. Now, alongside that information, it looks like DICE has also implemented a few new backend hooks for crashes and gathering data. Now this mainly applies only to Zavad Graveyard Shift, however with that said, in the past we've been talking about some of the crashes that have been occurring with some of the graphics cards by Nvidia. And as of the moment, it still looks like DICE is still trying to collect some additional information about the crashes and gathering data, especially that pertain to those crashes. So with that said, if you have been having issues with this overall map when it comes down to it, it's definitely a good way to jump back into it and provide some additional information so that DICE can get this fixed when the official release, of course, comes out. But of course, if you weren't having any issues at that time, then of course it doesn't look like this was pertaining primarily to your graphics card. So of course you can continue to enjoy the overall map and provide information for DICE to hopefully make improvements for the future. Now transferring over to a few gameplay updates, it looks like over the last week DICE has definitely been trying to make a lot of differences when it comes down to the vehicle combat, especially when it comes down to the turrets and their overall speeds. Now as of the moment, it looks like they've been really trying to fix the differing input curve for open gunning turrets. Now this mainly refers to the transport helicopter in specific. However, of course, this also pertains to the attack boats when it comes down to the miniguns and overall just the turrets in general. So it looks like they've been definitely trying to do a lot of things, especially for trying to clean up the vehicle turrets, considering that it always seems like they're definitely really odd, especially if you're using a joypad in some particular cases. But overall, definitely a lot of great things, especially if they're taking another look at those and trying to make alterations to them. And finally, the last thing I want to quickly bring up is they fixed an issue where aiming fast left and right sometimes would snap and aim to the opposite direction. This was mainly an issue that was in reference to the transport helicopter minigun, so of course definitely it looks like they're still trying to make some differences there, and it looks like they actually have fixed the transport helicopter, so of course if you were having issues of it snapping in the wrong direction, it looks like it has been resolved. Now of course, with all that said, transferring over to the summer patch final testing release number 7, this is a more up-to-date one that occurred a couple of days ago, so of course it looks like we're going to be talking about some potential crash fixes as well as another gameplay update. So of course, starting things off on the potential crash fix, now this is in reference to the Nvidia cards, but it was caused by forcing a high-end depth of field effect which overloaded and hung these cards. Now as a result of this, DICE has decided to turn off the feature, but of course remnants might still remain, so of course they're definitely going to be releasing another patch tomorrow that should overall fix this, but as of the moment it looks like there was an issue that they have detected, and hopefully it'll be fixed for future updates. And finally, taking a look at the gameplay update. Now this is in reference to the vehicle turrets like we just previously talked about, and it looks like they're actually making the final tuning pass. As a result of this, they lowered the limitations of all turrets from 2 times to 1.2 times. Now of course these figures are mainly in response to the multipliers of the base speed of the turrets. Now this mainly just determines how fast you can flick the turret in one direction or another, and it mainly just talks about the 360 degrees of the turrets. This change mainly only affects the PC only, so of course if you're playing on console with a joystick or anything of the equivalency, this isn't really an issue that's going to affect you, but it's going to drastically change the PC platform. Now of course, as a result of this, the max turning radius will be much closer to the current retail max speed, so it looks like the community test environment version of Battlefield 4 was different than the retail version of Battlefield 4. So of course this should just make everything a little bit easier for people that are currently testing on the community test environment in comparison to the retail version of Battlefield 4, so overall it looks like you'll be able to change between the games a little bit easier and have less limitations, especially when you make that change. But anyway guys, that's really all the information I have for you. Of course, if you would like to read everything for yourself, I will have the articles linked in the description of the video, so feel free to check those out at your own discretion. But until the next episode guys, this has been NMO, and I'm going to be signing out guys. Peace.